Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing all good out there. Hope all is well. We're back for another one, and today's topic is talking about being under pressure, performing under pressure. So it doesn't matter whether you're making that decision, you're at the grocery store, trying to figure out what dinner you want to eat, and all of that good stuff. Making decisions daily are not always the easiest. And yeah, just the FYI, y'all, I'm outside, so you might hear some background noise. How's everybody out there? Hope all is well. And again, we're back for another one here. And today's topic is going to be performing under pressure. So when you performing under pressure, there's a lot of different things that comes with that. You got to make decisions in a timely manner, and it all plays in a part making your decision. So yeah, just FYI, we outside. You hear the birds chirping, people's cars running, traffic. But yeah, we doing this thing outside. So it's probably gonna be a little background noise, but we'll see if we can keep this going here. But yeah, performing under pressure. That's the topic for today. So we use the example. Think about it. When you are a witness on a witness stand in a courtroom, everything you say is recorded, interpreted, challenged, and can be challenged by the judge, lawyers, and all of that good stuff. So the letter of law, it's a failure to remember the rush told inconvenient. So when you think about it, like I said again, so if you're in court and you're speaking on something, you don't tell the truth. So you are by law a failure to remember what happened, the encounters, and all that good stuff could get you fined or imprisonment. So making decisions can be tough, and this is a good example of making decisions under pressure when you're in a failure.
People say you have to be broken to be fixed again. My name is Asha Phillip, and I run. Athletics for me was just a bit of fun. It was something different and it was something new. Trampolining was my main sport and I loved it. And then I fell into double mini trampolining and then I became a world junior champion at it. The only thing standing between success and failure is mental toughness. It's about being resilient. Being an athlete isn't like a normal job. The gym, strengthening, the mind work, the fitness for one shot for 11 seconds. There are a lot of knockbacks, a lot. It's how you handle it. But it's also the most amazing release. I let out all my stresses, all my bad energy. Every time I show up to train, I have the opportunity to learn more about myself and how to run correctly. Some people train brilliantly, but in a race, they don't win. You need focus. You're in an arena of thousands of people, then you're on the start line with 7 other women, then you have a man holding a gun, and you have to learn to channel all this, not panic. But there's so much going on. You have your family in the crowd, everyone's screaming, wanting you to do well. And obviously, they're screaming for the girl alongside you. How do you put that all aside and say, okay, I have to focus on myself, focus on my lane, focus on me? There are sacrifices. There are lots of ways to have fun. Go after your goals and balance it out the right way. In the end, it's about knowing what's important to you and what makes you thrive. That's not just athletics, that's life.
So as always, everything I do is cited. This is Performing Under Pressure. The author is Paulie Frall. And basically, one of the things that they were talking about saying, we live in a high pressure time where every day we feel we are on the line more than ever before. Working people, everyday decisions, meetings, presentations, negotiations, or pitch that would make you feel as if you had major impact on your career. So decisions that you have to make that would have major impact on your career, your family, your life, and all of that good stuff. So a single misword or hasty email or hasty call or hasty conversation can spell for disaster. And I'm talking about, like, say if you're at work, or even if you send that message, you didn't think clearly about it before you sent that message to a family member or high ranking or manager or something in your company. You didn't proofread that email, you didn't get it referred by a friend, you didn't get somebody else to look over it before you sent it. So in an age where many of us can lose our jobs at any single time, all considered, can derail. You can be derailed within seconds, minutes of making that bad decision. So just again, we're talking about being under pressure. So being under pressure, you need to be calm, cool, and collective. You need to stop, take deep breaths, think about what you're doing, and then if it's something you're going to send off, a message you're going to send off that's important, it needs to be done urgently. Maybe have somebody look it over, maybe just proofread it yourself 2 or 3 times. So many factors have increased and perceived pressure in our lives. The recent economic meltdown, the fierce competition for jobs, advent of the global economy, the erosion of job stability, the competition to get into top colleges, universities, and all of that good stuff. And so what they were talking about is that there's a clear and present danger to deal with pressure under anxiety. It's often becomes generalized to others aspects of our lives. The perpetual feeling that you have to perform and underlying doubts as to whether not you can continue to produce, lead, stress conversations and relationships at home. So what they were saying is, who wants to talk about a vacation or a home or improvement if you got a lot going on, you're trying to make decisions, you're under pressure. So often the feelings become so unmanageable that emotional conflict is experienced regularly. All of a sudden we feel as if we were under siege from every front, from every angle, from every corner. Considering the demographics that show that people are working longer hours, that the working is becoming more competitive, pressure, anxiety have to become a contemporary plague. So think about it. When I say people are working longer hours, well, people are working from home. So, back in the day, you put in your 7. So like I was saying, so back in the day, think about it. You put in your 7 or 8 hours and you gone for the day. That's it. You're not thinking about that job. The whole talk was always, hey, when you leave here, don't think about this place. Nowadays, people working from home, and then even the people that are working doing hybrid work. So you always have work on the mind. You're always on call. But yeah, you're always on call. I had to pause for a minute here. I didn't realize there was going to be so much background noise. I'm trying to be outside, but I don't know if this was a good idea. So I'm going to try to speak as quick as possible and try to get through this. But yeah, when you're dealing with... So now, ladies and gents, so when you're dealing with working from home and hybrid, you still got family you have to cook for, family you have to take for, kids you got to pick up from school. Kids might need help with homework, all of those different things and those parent family duties that you have to do. So now all of that stuff, the work that you've been doing, it starts to blend into your everyday life. So that's when it becomes even more crucial. Now we're talking about performing under pressure. So you're having to make decisions a lot more often, and it can be, stressful. So
it took a long time before I felt like I was really healing. And then on the 3-year anniversary of my mother's death, some friends called and invited Lincoln and me to a basketball game. Coincidentally, it was being played at the same auditorium where I'd last seen my mother on the night before she passed away. I hadn't been back there since. I wasn't even sure I wanted to go back. But Lincoln and I talked about it, and ultimately we said, Maybe that'll be a good way to honor her memory. So we went to the game. We actually had a really good time with our friends. On the drive home that night, we talked about how great it was to finally be able to go back to that place and remember my mother with a smile, rather than all those feelings of sadness. But shortly after we got home that night, Lincoln said he didn't feel well. A few minutes later, he collapsed. I had to call for an ambulance. His family met me at the emergency room. We waited for what seemed like forever, till finally a doctor came out. But rather than taking us out back to see Lincoln, he took us back to a private room and sat us down and explained to us that Lincoln, who was the most adventurous person I'd ever met, was gone. We didn't know at the time, but he'd had a heart attack. He was only 26. He didn't have any history of heart problems. So now I found myself a 26-year-old widow, and I didn't have my mom. I thought, how am I going to get through this? And to describe that as a painful period in my life feels like an understatement. And it was during that time that I realized when you're really going through tough times, good habits aren't enough. It only takes one or two small habits to really hold you back. I worked as hard as I could, not just to create good habits in my life, but to get rid of those small habits, no matter how small they might seem. Throughout it all, I held out hope that someday life could get better. And eventually it did. A few years down the road.
So we're walking and talking now. So you got to think about performance under pressure is organized into 3 sections. You got to think about the crucial differences between pressure and stress and how the differences impact us. So performance, part 1 provides readers with an understanding of the nature and science of pressure. Like I said, the crucial differences between pressure and stress and how these differences impact us. So why we feel in the heat of pressure moment, how we inadvertently put pressure on ourselves and others. Common pressure traps and how they make us choke. Meaning choke when you're under pressure. Making the wrong decision, making a bad decision. And this is all talking about like in sport. But what presses does to our brains and how it affects our thinking.
Facebook friend whose life seems perfect. She lives in a gorgeous house, and she has a really rewarding career. And she and her family go on all these exciting adventures together on the weekends. And I swear that they must take a professional photographer along with them, because no matter where they go or what they do, the whole family just looks beautiful. And she's always posting about how blessed she is and how grateful she is for the life that she has. And I get the feeling she's not just saying those things for the sake of Facebook, but she truly means it. How many of you have a friend kind of like that? And how many of you kind of don't like that person sometimes? We all do this, right? It's hard not to do. But that way of thinking costs us something. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is what our bad habits cost us. Maybe you scroll through your Facebook feed and you think, so what if I roll my eyes? It's just 5 seconds of my time. How could it be hurting me? Well, researchers have found that envying your friends on Facebook actually leads to depression. That's just one of the traps that our minds can set for us. Have you ever complained about your boss? Or looked at your friends' lives and thought, why do they have all the luck? Can't help thinking that way, right? That way of thinking seems small in the moment. In fact, it might even make you feel better in the moment. But that way of thinking is eating away at your mental strength. There's 3 kinds of destructive beliefs that make us less effective and rob us of our mental strength. The first one is unhealthy beliefs about ourselves. We tend to feel sorry for ourselves. And while it's okay to be sad when something bad happens, self-pity goes beyond that. It's when you start to magnify your misfortune. When you think things like, why do these things always have to happen to me? I shouldn't have to deal with it. That way of thinking keeps you stuck, keeps you focused on the problem, keeps you from finding a solution. And even when you can't create a solution, you can always take steps to make your life or somebody else's life better. But you can't do that when you're busy hosting your own pity party. The second type of destructive belief that holds us back is unhealthy beliefs about others. We think that other people can control us, and we give away our power. But as adults who live in a free country, there's very few things in life that you have to do. So when you say, I have to work late, you give away your power. Yeah, maybe there'll be consequences if you don't work late, but it's still a choice. Or when you say, my mother-in-law drives me crazy, you give away your power. Maybe she's not the nicest person on earth, but it's up to you how you respond to her because you're in control. The third type of unhealthy belief that holds us back is unhealthy beliefs about the world. We tend to think that the world owes us something. We think, if I put in enough hard work, then I deserve success. But expecting success to fall into your lap like some sort of cosmic reward will only lead to disappointment. But I know it's hard to give up our bad mental habits. It's hard to get rid of those unhealthy beliefs that we've carried around with us for so long. But you can't afford not to give them up. Because sooner or later, you're going to hit a time in your life where you need all the mental strength that you can muster.
Yeah, was the fact that that's where you find yourself. You find yourself when you are when you're not comfortable. When you're not comfortable on a daily basis. And that's how I started to grow. Like I said about the mind, it wants to put you in that nice 72-degree temperature with everything right there. It wants to be in that nice with a little massage therapist. That's where your mind wants to be. It doesn't want to be, and we're going to talk about Hell Week. So it doesn't want to be in Hell Week. In Hell Week, our minds. It's a control that you had to have for 3 months when you're miserable, when you're suffering, when you're laying on the floor, when you're doing all the disciplines it takes to be a monk. You cannot think about the whole process. It will make you, it will make you so insane, learns about something and then talks about it. Mm. A practitioner is myself. Learn how the mind processes. So I talk about theorists, I talk about practitioners. Mm. A theorist is a person who reads a book, doesn't do it, reads a book, learns about something, and then talks about it. Mm. A practitioner is myself. A practitioner is a person like me. I wanted to be an expert in the mind, a mental toughness guy, beyond mental toughness. The only way to do that, in my eyes, is to put yourself in hell. Mm-hmm. Put it in hell repeatedly. Repeatedly put yourself in hell and study how you process it. And that's how I was able to come up with all these different ways, all these different tools to slow the mind down in hell. Because the mind just speeds up. The mind wants to get out of the painful situation, the suffering. It can't process it. So that's what I realized by going through all these different processes of being in Hell Weeks. Is just that.
I love that, man.
How the mind processes.
And I started to think, why do these things always have to keep happening? Why do I have to keep losing all my loved ones? This isn't fair. But if I'd learned anything, it was that way of thinking would hold me back. I knew I was going to need as much mental strength as I could muster to get through one more loss. So I sat down and I wrote a list of all the things mentally strong people don't do. And I read over that list. It was a reminder of all of those bad habits that I've done at one time or another that would keep me stuck. And I kept reading that list over and over, and I really needed it because within a few weeks of writing it, Steve's dad passed away. My journey taught me that the secret to being mentally strong is that you have to give up your bad mental habits. Mental strength is a lot like physical strength. If you wanted to be physically strong, you'd need to go to the gym and lift weights. But if you really wanted to see results, you'd also have to give up eating junk food. Mental strength is the same. If you want to be mentally strong, you need good habits like practicing gratitude. But you also have to give up bad habits like resenting somebody else's success. No matter how often that happens, it'll hold you back. So, how do you train your brain to think differently? How do you give up those bad mental habits that you've carried around with you? It starts by countering those unhealthy beliefs that I talked about with healthier ones. For example, unhealthy beliefs about ourselves mostly come about because we're uncomfortable with our feelings. Feeling sad or hurt or angry or scared, those things are all uncomfortable. So we go to great lengths to avoid that discomfort. We try to escape it by doing things like hosting a pity party. And although that's a temporary distraction, it just prolongs the pain. The only way to get through uncomfortable emotions, the only way to deal with them is that you have to go through them, to let yourself feel sad and then move on, to gain confidence in your ability to deal with that discomfort. Unhealthy beliefs about others come about because we compare ourselves to other people. We think that they're either above us or below us, or we think that they can control how we feel or that we can control how they behave, or we blame them for holding us back. But really, it's our own choices that do that. You have to accept that you're your own person and other people are separate from you. The only person you should compare yourself to is the person that you were yesterday. And unhealthy beliefs about the world come about because deep down, we want the world to be fair. We want to think that if we put in enough good deeds, enough good things will happen to us. Or if we tough it out through enough bad times, we'll get some sort of reward.
All right, I had to get to a little bit more quiet place because this dude pulled up. He was sitting on the park bench with his loud video, whatever. Seemed like a nice dude. Some Spanish show he was watching, but yeah, it was loud. I was going over part 1 of performing under pressure. And but yeah, according to this book, that they found that the more familiar you are with the impact of pressure in your life, the more adept you become at successfully coping with it. So the better your chances, the more you know what you're dealing with, the more you know how to practice and how to deal with stuff, the better results you're going to have, the quicker results you're going to have, and just more smooth, and the process is going to be a lot better for you. So, but like they were saying in the book, and was it Pauline Fry, that in this way you want to challenge yourself to become a student of human behavior, starting with your own. So I mean, it's cool to think you understand the behavior of others, but it's also good to be a student of your own behavior. So part 2, they talk about provides readers with the 22 powerful, often encounter intuitive so you will find pressure solutions for all sorts of pressure moments, both at work and in your personal life. These solutions can be applied instantly. So if you are currently in the midst of a high pressure situation, decision that you need to make, then start jotting down, getting that information together, and trying to figure out what you need to do. But I always say, if this has been helpful, somewhat entertaining, educational, hilarious, funny, all of that, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe. You can just hit the like button, or you can just subscribe, or you can do neither. But I appreciate whatever support you get, chiming in, giving the views on the video. Views is just as good, and as far as support. Alright, so until we do this again, my beautiful people, check y'all later, and peace.